Fire, my disabled daughter is trapped upstairs. I screamed as flames engulfed our home just this morning. Vivian Powell, our heartless HOA president, had threatened me. Remove that elevator or face consequences. Now, as smoke filled my lungs, I knew she'd followed through on her threat, not knowing I was once a federal judge. Before witnessing full Karen story, comment below. From where you're watching, also like and subscribe for more stories. Fire burned our house as I ran through thick smoke seeking my daughter Emma. Only that morning, Vivian Powell, the cruel HOA president, had been standing in front of my door screaming, "Get rid of that wheelchair ramp or else." Now that our home was engulfed with flames and Emma locked inside, I knew what Vivian's or else entailed. Nobody in our subdivision was aware I had previously been a federal judge until I resigned to take care of Emma after she got hurt. We lived in peace until Vivian wanted our home made the neighborhood look bad. That morning began with pounding knocking. Vivian stood there dressed in her costly attire with papers in her hand. "Mr. Daniels, these wheelchair things are unsightly. The ramp, the broad doors, the special bathroom all must go by next week," she stated, scowling at Emma's wheelchair in our hallway. "These things are legislated against," I replied peacefully. Although I seethed inwardly, Vivian's face turned ugly. "I don't care about laws. This is our neighborhood, and we make the rules." She gestured to her papers. "You already owe $5,000 in fines more coming unless you correct this." Emma wheeled up next to me, her face concerned. "Dad, what's wrong?" Vivian took a step back when she noticed Emma. "Perhaps you should relocate to a location more suitable for your type." I stood between my daughter. "You need to leave immediately. This isn't over," Vivian told her as she walked away. Soon things took a turn for the worse. Our mailbox was shattered. Notes showed up saying, "Disabled, not welcome. The HOA sent daily fines for problems made up at the HOA meeting." I brought documents proving our wheelchair ramp was legal. "Mr. Daniels believes he doesn't have to obey our rules," Vivian explained to the neighbors. "He doesn't get how things are done here." "I do get laws very well," I said, becoming angry. Vivian's face turned red. "Your daughter's issue is unfortunate, but it's not our issue. Her ramp is unsightly, and seeing her daily annoys people." Everyone fell silent. Even Vivian's friends looked stunned. "This meeting is over," I said sternly. "If you continue to harass us, I'll take you to court." That evening, my camera captured Vivian and two others vandalizing the garden beds I'd constructed for Emma's therapy. When I confronted her, Vivian smiled. "Sue me, my brother-in-law is the district attorney. You'll get nowhere." I began preparing a lawsuit, keeping records of everything they did to us. 3 days later, watching TV, there was smoke filling our living room. The fire broke at the rear of our home, where Vivian had also been filmed an hour before I took Emma towards the front door. But smoke was so dense, Emma's breathing began to worsen in my arms. Our neighbor, Mr. Patterson, burst through our door armed with a fire extinguisher to assist us escape, as flames consumed our house from the ambulance observing firefighters attempt to rescue our home. I placed a phone call. "I never wished to make Judge Carson Richard Daniels here. I need assistance." The investigation was quick fire. Specialists detected gas on our deck by Emma's wheelchair lifts. Security footage revealed Vivian approaching with a gas can moments before the fire began, when police took her into custody. Vivian said she only intended to harm the ugly equipment. How was I? Had no idea the whole house would catch on fire. The police officer placed handcuffs on her. "Ma'am, you're under arrest for arson and attempted murder." Word of Vivian's arrest spread through the neighborhood. Residents who had helped her or remained silent now brought us food, clothing, and offers to stay with them while our house was being repaired. The district attorney, Vivian's brother-in-law, withdrew himself from the case. The new prosecutor called me after reading the file. "Judge Daniels," he said, acknowledging my name. "I didn't know you were the victim I was in your courtroom 5 years ago, I remember." I replied, "We're charging her with attempted murder and hate crimes for attacking your daughter's disability." The video proof is quite conclusive at Vivian's court hearing. I wore my ancient suit for the first time since retiring from the bench when the judge recognized me. His eyes opened wide. "Your Honor," I said, talking as a victim rather than a judge for the first time. "The defendant did not just attack my property. She attempted to hurt my disabled daughter because she believed we devalued her property. My daughter was in hospital for 3 days due to smoke in her lungs. Emma's doctor informed the court of the damage to her lungs," the fire expert testified. "The fire was intentionally set." Vivian's own text messages to HOA members demonstrated her contempt. Once they're out of our way, our neighborhood can become normal again. The judge rejected bail. The HOA swiftly removed its leadership and sent us an apology. The community donated more than $200,000 for Emma's medical expenses, and to make our new home accessible, while rebuilt our house neighbors included features to simplify Emma's life. Wider hallways and elevator, a therapy pool. The builder whose niece shared the same condition as Emma worked for less money. Vivian accepted a plea 15 years in jail for arson and attempted murder, hate crime enhancements. Her husband divorced her while waiting for sentencing. Our suit against her ended up with her money being placed in a trust for Emma's care at Vivian's sentencing. I took Emma to court, now 16. She wanted to confront the woman who sought to ruin our lives. Your Honor, Emma said, her voice still husky from smoke damage. I forgive Miss Powell, but I want her to know something. Every person has value beyond what their house looks like or how they move around. I hope she learns that while she is in prison. The judge nodded respectfully to Emma, then looked hard at Vivian. Miss Powell, you arsoned a federal judge's house and nearly killed his disabled daughter because you believed that they cut your property values. The hilarious thing is that your behavior has destroyed your own life, far more than any wheelchair ramp ever could. Never impact your home's value today. 6 months from now, our rebuilt home remains a beacon of inclusion. The neighborhood's new regulations safeguard accessibility features and prohibit discrimination. Emma's garden has been replanted and expanded by neighbors who previously said nothing. Mr. Patterson, who rescued us, stops by every day to assist with it. Yesterday, a young couple with a child in a wheelchair moved in across the street. Their actual estate agent informed them it was the most friendly, accessible neighborhood in the state. As I observed Emma greet them from our front porch, I came to realize sometimes justice manifests unexpectedly. My time as a judge never generated the type of change our neighborhood underwent due to fire and reconstruction. Emma stood up at me and smiled. Dad, I believe we are finally home. Retry. Emma intro, thank garden, ba or 2,300 words hound. Edited Karen, burned my house with my disabled daughter within unaware. I'm ex-federal judge, fire burned our house. As I searched through heavy smoke for my daughter Emma. Just that morning, Vivian Powell, the nasty HOA president, had stood on my doorstep yelling, take out that elevator lift or else. Now, as flames engulfed our home with Emma trapped within, I knew what Vivian's or else meant. No one in our neighborhood was aware. I used to be a judge in the federal court before I resigned to care for Emma. After her accident, we lived peacefully until Vivian declared our house was making the neighborhood look bad. That morning began with banging on the door. Vivian stood there in her designer clothes with papers. Mr. Daniels, that ugly elevator on the side of your house is against our rules. The blue parking space and those metal bars on your walls all must go by next week, she said, glaring up at Emma's wheelchair in our hallway. These adaptations are guaranteed under law, I said firmly, although I was seething on the inside. Vivian's expression darkened. I do not care about laws. This is our suburb, and we provide the rules. She jabbed at her documents. You already owe $5,000 fines, more pending, unless you adapt this. Emma wheeled over to my side, her brow furrowed. Dad, what's wrong? Vivian stood back when she saw Emma. Perhaps you ought to relocate to a location more appropriate for your type. I was standing outside of my daughter. You must go now, this isn't finished, Vivian said while she turned away. Soon things only worsened. Our mailbox was vandalized, notes surfaced. Reading disabled, not welcome. The HOA issued daily fines for problems that were fabricated at the HOA meeting. I presented documents proving our home alterations were legal. Mr. Daniels believes he doesn't need to comply with our rules, Vivian informed the neighbors. He doesn't know how things work here. I know laws very well, I said. Getting angry, Vivian's face turned red. Your daughter's issue is sad, but it's not our issue. Her elevator is ugly, and seeing her daily upsets people. Everyone fell silent. Even Vivian's friends looked shocked. This meeting is over, I said firmly. If you keep disturbing us, I'll take legal action. That night, my camera caught Vivian and 2 others fiddling with the electrical box that kept Emma's medical equipment going. When I called her out on it, Vivian smiled. Sue me, my brother-in-law is the district attorney, you'll get nowhere. I began to prepare a lawsuit, keeping track of all they did to us 3 days later. As Emma and I sat watching TV, fumes filled our living room. The fire began in the rear of our house where Vivian was last spotted on camera. An hour ago, I took Emma towards the front door, but smoke was too heavy. Emma's breathing deteriorated in my arms. Our neighbor, Mr. Patterson, burst through our door with a fire extinguisher, assisting us in fleeing, as flames consumed our house from the ambulance, witnessing firefighters struggle to save our home. I made a call. I never wished to make Judge Carson Richard Daniels here. I need assistance. The investigation was quick fire. Experts detected gas on our deck, close to Emma's elevator lift security video, revealed Vivian arriving with a gas can. Just before the fire erupted, when police arrested her, Vivian said she only intended to harm the ugly equipment. How was I supposed to know the entire house would catch fire? The police officer placed handcuffs on her. Ma'am, you're under arrest for arson and attempted murder. Word of Vivian's arrest spread throughout the neighborhood. Folks who had stood by her or remained silent now sent us food, clothes, and invitations to stay somewhere while our house was repaired. The district attorney, Vivian's brother-in-law, took himself out of the case. The new prosecutor called me after reading the case. Judge Daniels, he said, seeing my name, I didn't know you were the victim. I was in your courtroom 5 years ago. I remember I said, we're charging her with attempted murder and hate crimes for attacking your daughter's disability. The video proof is very compelling. At Vivian's court hearing, I wore my old suit for the first time since I left the bench. When the judge saw me, his eyes widened. Your Honor, I said, as a victim rather than a judge. For the first time, the defendant didn't only attack my property, she attempted to injure my disabled daughter because she believed that we reduced her property worth in money. My daughter spent 3 days in the hospital due to smoke in her lungs. Emma's physician informed the court of the lung damage. The fire expert affirmed that the fire had been set intentionally. Vivian's own messages on texts to HOA members revealed her hatred once. Once they're gone, our neighborhood can return to normal. The judge rejected bail. The HOA promptly removed its leaders and sent us an apology. The community raised over $200,000 for Emma's medical bills and to make our new house accessible. While rebuilding our house, neighbors added features to make Emma's life easier. Wider hallways, an elevator, and special bathroom fixtures. The builder, whose niece had the same condition as Emma, worked for less money. Vivian took a deal: 15 years in prison for arson and attempted murder with hate crime charges. Her husband divorced her while she waited for sentencing. Our lawsuit against her ended up being put into a trust for Emma's care at Vivian's sentencing. I brought Emma to court, now 16. She wanted to face the woman who tried to ruin our lives. Your Honor, Emma said, her voice still rough from smoke damage, I forgive Miss Powell, but I want her to know something. Every person has value beyond what their house looks like or how they move around. I hope she learns that while she was in jail. The judge nodded respectfully to Emma and then gazed sternly at Vivian. Miss Powell, you burned a federal judge's house down and nearly killed his disabled daughter because you believe that they depressed your property values. The humorous thing about it is that your actions have destroyed your life far more than any home adaptation could ever change your home's value. The courtroom fell silent as Vivian was escorted away in handcuffs. Many jurors wiped tears from their eyes as they saw Emma's courageous face in front of the courthouse journalists swarming around us, hungry to catch the story of the ex-federal judge whose name had been kept a secret until the trial. Judge Daniels, will you get back on the bench now that this is finished? A reporter asked. I glanced at Emma's smiling face. No, my most significant job is being Emma's dad, but I will be cooperating with disability rights groups to see that no family goes through what we had done. The construction of our home took 6 months. The builders worked carefully to make every aspect of it accessible for Emma. The lift was now integral to the house rather than stuck on the outside. The doorways were larger counters, lower, and all designed so Emma could live independently. On the day we moved back, the whole neighborhood lined the road clapping as our car pulled in. Mrs. Jenkins, who had once complained of our blue parking space, had arranged a welcome home party. We were wrong, she hugged Emma. We let fear and ignorance rule us rather than compassion. Never again. The new HOA president, Mr. Patterson, the man who had rescued us from the fire, introduced us to new neighborhood rules that specifically safeguarded the rights of disabled residents. These were passed unanimously, he said, beaming, and we've created a community fund to assist any resident who must make accessibility changes to their home. Emma was asked to give a talk at the high school about her experience. Her words touched so many hearts that students began a campaign called Accessible for All that spread to schools nationwide one evening. As Emma and I sat on our new front porch, a car stopped across the street. A family got out, including a teenage boy in a wheelchair. That's Jamal. Emma exclaimed, "We've been chatting online. His family purchased the Powell's old home. Vivian's husband had sold their home after divorcing her, unable to confront the neighbors after what she had done. The new family came up to us cautiously. We heard this neighborhood is very accessible friendly." Now Jamal's father asked, "Is that true?" Emma smiled. "It is now welcome home." The first anniversary of the fire, the neighborhood celebrated unity. People from throughout the city came to witness the community that was once changed from one of hate to one of acceptance. A reporter spoke with Emma for the evening news. "Do you feel as though you truly feel home here now, after all that you experienced?" Emma considered her answer before responding. "Occasionally, horrible things bring about tremendous change. Miss Powell sought to run us off due to fear and hatred. But see what did instead. An entire community learned how to be a better one, and the ultimate revenge of all. I sat and watched my daughter with pride in awe of her wisdom and forgiveness. My time on the bench had instilled in me about justice. But Emma had taught me about mercy." Later that evening, when I put Emma into bed, she said, "Dad, do you ever wish you told everyone you were a judge right from the start? Maybe Vivian would have been too afraid to bother us." I shook my head. "I wanted us to be accepted for who we are not, what I used to be. And in the end, that's exactly what happened." As I turned off her light, Emma said sleepily, "You know what's funny? Vivian was so worried about property values, but now houses here sell for more because people want to live in an inclusive community." She was right. The real estate agent who sold the house across the street had marketed our neighborhood as the most accessible, friendly neighborhood in America. 3 additional families that included disabled individuals had moved in over the previous month. The following morning, I came home from an early walk to find a letter from the prison chaplain. Vivian had been on a restorative justice program and wanted to know if we would mind meeting with her. "She has said deep regrets," the chaplain wrote, "but understands if you refuse." I showed the letter to Emma. "What do you think?" She pondered it long. "I believe everyone deserves a chance to learn and change, even Vivian. So next week we'll visit the prison, not for revenge or to remind her of her crimes, but to illustrate to her that in spite of her worst intentions, goodness triumphed." Perhaps that is the most valuable lesson in all of this. Sometimes justice springs from sundry places, and true victory lies not in punishment, but in change. As a judge, I sent many individuals to prison. As a dad, I've come to realize the strongest judgments are not made from a courtroom, but by forgiving. Emma's physical therapy goes on. Her lungs are healing gradually from the smoke inhalation. Sometimes during the night, she still wakes up coughing and in fear, but every day is better. And our community that once was one of fear and exclusion has now become a beacon of hope for families like ours. Yesterday, the mayor asked me to chair a new commission on accessible housing. Emma will work as a youth counselor. Both will help other communities learn from our experience. The elevator that used to make Vivian so furious is now within our lovely 2-story house. Sometimes when I catch sight of it, I reflect on how her hatred caused a fire that eventually shaped something better and stronger than what had been there previously. That's the irony that the judge who sentenced Vivian noticed in attempting to drive us off. She created the very community she feared, one where differences are not just tolerated, but celebrated. And that perhaps is justice of the highest